What up, YouTube? Topaz Yates back for another review, and this one's to that Kanye West Donda. Now, before we jump into the review, first I got to give you background. First, I got to let you know the context of why I feel the way that I feel about Kanye leading up to this album, so you can have a better understanding of everything that's going on here. But if you feel as though you already know everything there is to know about Kanye, as many of you probably already do, feel free to skip forward to this point here. But who is Kanye West? Chicago MC, the biggest rapper maybe outside of Drake and all of music right now. Now, why is he like this? Due to false hype, but yet mostly his unmatched promotion. See, for this album, he got an ad on the NBA Finals that was featured Sha'Carri Richardson, and that was really just for the album listening party. That wasn't for actually dropping the music. I am hoping that is dropping this week. But let's keep it real, man. Not counting the gospel albums, which were not as good as Snoop Dogg's gospel album, Kanye has been on a losing streak since, say, Watch the Throne. See, Yeezus was trash. Watch the Throne was overrated, much like every single one of Jay-Z's collaboration albums. Life of Pablo had its moments, like Father Stretch Thy Hands, a famous 30 hours, but extremely lacking otherwise. Yay, there was a few joints like Yikes and No Mistakes, but that's really about it. I've long since acknowledged that Kanye can no longer make the music like he used to with College Dropout, Late Registration, My Dark Twisted Fantasy, because he's no longer that hungry, and nor does he have the team around him to make these things a reality. The majority of all his new projects have really been just Kanye, and Kanye as a producer is extremely limited because he doesn't still have the basic foundations. Like, he needs someone on the keys. He needs somebody to help chop up his samples. He needs somebody that can actually take all of his ideas and make them into a digestible format. Somebody who's talented enough to make it happen. Outside of that, Kanye just delivers rambling nonsense, just like his speeches. But Kanye is unlike most artists out here, man, where most artists, the fame falls as the hunger evaporates. But due to Kanye's antics, due to Kanye's promotion, he's been able to maintain and continue to climb, even as he's been releasing lesser and lesser and lesser music. But much like I've been telling everybody for years, when you become predictable, when people can sit up and tell you exactly what kind of music that you are releasing, that's when people lose interest. And Kanye has been jumping off the rails every album. You never know what's coming, so even though it's bad, it still works. And finally, I bring you the review of the long anticipated Kanye West Donda. Now, my first impression of this album, man, was it's better as an album release album, if that makes any sense. Like, a lot of these projects, they only really work for all of his album release parties that he's been doing back to back to back, not so much for an album. See, Kanye is doing so many things within this project, man, you realize he didn't really want to put it together the best way. He just gave us everything that he had. Personally, I would have took the best 10 songs that were along the same concept and squeezed it all together and made one album out of this, and I believe that would have made the project that much better, and then he could come back and do a second album like back to back with another one. This indecisiveness is what ultimately led to him freestyling his album release parties and creating something new, like going on tour with an album release party and actually making more money doing that than you're probably gonna get off the album. Like, that was next level. But yet clearly he was freestyling this out of fear because he knew Drake was trying to drop at the same time, and then he ran out of the ability for people to believe him that the album's getting postponed, so he just threw it out there. But when you look at this album, man, Donda is trying to do too many things, man. One is a dedication to his mom. The second is him exploring the ending and the ultimate crashing of his relationship that's somewhat coming back to life, I guess, as we see it. And lastly, somewhat of a continuation of that Jesus is King, but with way better music. But here's my thing about it, dude. The album just doesn't feel done. It feels rushed. Honestly, he tried to do what most people do with school. You postpone and wait until it's too late for you to actually put it together, so then you try to do a crash course at the end and you fail miserably. That's what happened with this. Now, why I feel this way is because I'm all for creating extended intros, outros, verses, using all of those as devices for your creativity to craft something amazing. Like, I'm all for that. But these projects just feel like unfinished tracks that he just threw out there. Take God Breathed, that has like a 2.5 minute outro. Then you got New Again, that has somewhat of the same formula. The same with Come to Life. And I feel as though Come to Life is the best of them, but how could it be you showing your creativity and doing something different if a bunch of the songs are fitting along the same format? Tell the Vision is pretty much just, oh, I got Pop Smoke on a track that I'm never even going to touch, that I'm never even going to do anything with. Why would I not put this out, even though I'm not even going to attempt to try to make it any good or to make it into a full song or make it into anything at all? Then we got a bunch of songs that just feel like long interludes, like 24, like Moon, like No Child Left Behind. Those songs will kill at album release parties. That's cool. Like, people actually can understand what you're saying, and like it's somewhat of a vibe with the production. But does that work on the actual album though? I don't think so. And then when you realize that this album is split in two, that's why the track listing looks like this. And then therefore you gotta have the mid intro, which was Donda. And let's not forget the actual intro that Donda chant was trash. Now, I do feel as though the first half is better than the second half, but there are good ideas for songs scattered throughout this that just didn't become good songs. Like, take Jail with Jay-Z on the first part and second part with DaBaby. I enjoyed some elements of the production, but this really needed to drop, and it really needed rapping Kanye, not 808s and Heartbreak Kanye. Could have been great, but it didn't, and it doesn't make me excited for a Watch the Thrones 2, just like how Watch the Thrones 1 was trash. Now, Hurricane with The Weeknd and Lil Baby, that song was fire. Well, the concept of that is pretty much just talking about how life is spiraling out of control for Kanye. And it's a realistic thing that people should take a lesson from. Like, that moment when you realize that you got to where you wanted to be, that everything is all good, that's usually the moment that it all goes bad. I like the okay, where this is potentially his Drake diss, where like the disc came off super light, if that's actually what it was, where he's saying that you sound like me, people can't tell who is who. I mean, Kanye is making a good point here, but is it a good diss in comparison to what's coming to him this week? No, but I did enjoy that song, and I did like the part 2 of it that he just put in the dance hall artist instead of Lil Yachty, and I think they both actually work well. My next favorite song would be Keep My Spirit Alive, and I got the Griselda boys up on there, man. And the basic concept of that is, no matter the struggles, as long as I got faith, I'm always going to come back, I'm always going to succeed. And I like the message, and I like the message on a lot of these songs. And the last song that I want to talk about is that Jesus Lord, not one of my favorite ones, but one we got to talk about because Jay Electronica's on there, and then part 2 went on and threw on the locks. And no, Kanye, your lyrics do not hold up here. You're not going to be able to compete with Jay Electronica and the locks, no matter if you try to switch up your flow to try to include as many words as you possibly can, like Jay Electronica does. See, Jay Electronica borderline perfected that for himself, while you just look like an amateur doing that, and you don't have the potency of the bars to pull that off. But did somebody say bars? Kanye reminds me of Louis the 13th, one of the most expensive liquors that's on the market, point blank period, but mostly known for its design of its bottle. That's where the cost honestly comes from, more than the actual taste. Like, how many people have you ever heard to tell you that, yo, that Louis the 13th is fire? most tell you that, yo, that joint costs too much. But it's still a classic brand that stood the test of time. Much like how Kanye West is more known for designs, like his punchlines are cool, entertaining, but they're not the most entertaining punchlines. Like he's really just known the most for his image. And even though I didn't feel as though he put in 100% on this album, there's still some pretty decent moments that's within this. Like how he said, I give it all to God and let Jesus reimburse you. Like that's him taking common tones that people within the church and all that like to use, but flipping it on his head Kanye style, creating something entertaining. How he said, I'm cussing at my baby moms, that's called custody. Again, simplistic, what you kind of would expect from Kanye, but the simplistic and the petty is what makes him good. And the same thing as he said, yo, trips to Legos, connecting like Legos, how Legos, the toy, connects to each other. Like, again, not nothing too impressive because we can never look at Kanye as a super lyricist, but yet he is entertaining, and if you just come into it wanting entertainment, he delivers that. Overall, man, there are good ideas here that if he actually was working hard on this instead of trying to squeeze this in a very small amount of time and updating it last minute after last minute after last minute, he could have crafted together a good album out of all of this material. But since he just threw it all out there like this, it came off as too much, going in too many different directions, not a great piece of work, especially in comparison to the classics and what we've known Kanye to be able to do. That's why I'm giving this one 6.5 out of 10.